But when you were clipping coupons in the PIMCO mailroom a few years ago, you dreamed about owning a helicopter. We all may get it with helicopter money. Olivier Blanchard says it's a scam. Other people are more calm about it. Where do you fit in here? Do you think helicopter money as a fiscal proxy can work?
I think it is a fiscal proxy, and that's a good phrasing of what helicopter money is. People view it as dropping actual cash to citizens, from helicopters, and that's really not the way it works. It works through fiscal policy. So to the extent that helicopter money, generates some type of fiscal stimulus, Keynesian fiscal stimulus, I think it's a positive. I would not claim that where we are now in terms of monetary policy and the combination of 0% interest rates and the thrust of helicopters going forward is really a positive for capitalism, because it's not. We have to get off of this addiction, at some point, because capitalism, to my way of thinking, cannot thrive. It may survive, but it can't thrive at 0% interest rates, because the savings function, which ultimately leads to the investment function, is destroyed.
When we do this, and when we get back to the beginning of normal, do you assume smooth glide paths, measured vectors where you and Janice can work in real time to adapt and adjust, or do you just assume it's some brutal jump conditions?
I would favor the latter, although I don't know, and I would hope for the former. But I think while the adjustment going down in terms of yields has been rather gradual over the past 5 or 6 or 7 years, I would think some type of step function on the other side would probably be the norm. A step function, not necessarily in terms of interest rates, because they're still going to be controlled by central banks, but a step function in terms of risk assets and the desertion of the investment market from them.
What would be your advice to Chair Yellen? What we've certainly seen in the last number of days is good corporate earnings. I think of United Technologies, DuPont, even McDonald's with their struggles doing okay, Apple doing okay according to the surveillance interviews we did today. It's a pretty good America, and yet she's central banker to this troubled world. What would be your counsel to her for September and then into next year?
Well, I would suggest, and perhaps we're going to see some of this in August, Tom. You'll probably be out there at Jackson Hole, and we'll hear something more. But, I think Janet Yellen, not to be critical, but you're asking me, and so I will be, as well as all central bankers, are fixated on the fact that the lower and lower interest rates go, the higher and higher asset prices go, and ultimately that redounds to the benefit of the real economy. I don't think it does. And so I'd say, Janet, get off of it. Get off of this fixation of lower interest rates providing a push for economic growth, because the evidence is, despite what you talked about in terms of Apple and corporate profits, the evidence is that nominal GDP has only grown by 3.3% over the past several years, and real growth is down below 2. And so, that is not normal. Something must be wrong. And so get off of your old model and get into the real world of common sense.
Right. Here's my real world, Bill Gross. I need some financial advice, and you're the only one that's going to give it to me. Is dividend growth a proxy for yield?
For high yield, it can be, because dividends, although we don't believe it, are subject to reduction as well as increase. But a dividend yield relative to a risk asset with a 30-year duration is a decent proxy, yes.